Here's something nobody tells you when you open a savings account. That little number sitting in your balance isn't just growing too slowly, it's actually shrinking. Not on paper, the number on your screen might be going up by a few dollars every month, but in terms of real purchasing power, in terms of what that money can actually buy you, it's quietly getting smaller every single day. And the most infuriating part? Your bank knows this. They've always known this, and they are absolutely counting on you never doing the math.
My name is Matt, and I spend way too much time thinking about money and human psychology, how banks actually work, and why most people hand over their financial future to institutions that have zero interest in helping them build wealth. If you're someone who wants to understand what's actually happening to your money while it sits in that savings account, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if it ends up changing how you think about where you keep your cash.
Here's something that might genuinely make you angry. The average traditional savings account at a major bank right now pays somewhere around 0.45% in annual interest. Some of the biggest banks in America are paying as low as 0.01%. That's not a typo, 0.01%. If you have $10,000 sitting in a savings account at one of those banks, you are earning $1 per year in interest. $1. Your bank is making hundreds of dollars off your money every single year, and they're handing you back $1 as a thank you. That's not a savings account. That's a polite way of keeping your money without paying you anything meaningful for the privilege. But before we get into what's actually going on behind the scenes, let me ask you something. When did you open your current savings account? If you're like most people, the answer is somewhere between embarrassing and I honestly don't remember. You probably opened it at the same bank where your parents banked, or at whatever branch happened to be close to your apartment when you were 22, or because the teller offered you a free gift card to open an account that same day. And since then, you've just kind of left it there. The money goes in, the money goes out, and that tiny interest number ticks up so slowly you've stopped noticing it entirely. This is not an accident. Banks have spent decades perfecting the art of financial inertia. They know that once you're set up with direct deposit, automatic bill payments, and a debit card you've memorized the number for, the switching cost feels enormous. Not because it actually is enormous, but because they've made it feel that way. Change your bank? You'd have to update your employer's payroll system, switch all your automatic payments, get a new routing number, memorize a new account number. It's a hassle, and banks are betting everything on the fact that you will choose the path of least resistance every single time. So far, they've been winning that bet by a massive margin. Here's what's actually happening to your money while it sits there. Let's talk about inflation, because this is where the real damage gets done, and almost nobody connects the dots clearly enough. Inflation is averaged somewhere around 3% per year historically. Some years it's higher, some years it's lower, but over long stretches of time, prices tend to rise about 3% annually. What that means in practical terms is that $10,000 today will only have the purchasing power of about $9,700 1 year from now. The number in your account stays the same, but what that number can actually buy keeps declining. Now, here's where the math gets uncomfortable. If your savings account is paying you 0.01% interest and inflation is running at 3%, your real return is negative 2.99% per year. You are losing almost 3% of your purchasing power annually while technically watching your balance go up. It's like getting a 1% raise at work while your rent goes up 15%. Sure, you're technically making more money, but you're actually falling further behind. And this is the quiet tax that banks never mention in any of their welcome materials. Let me put some real numbers on this so the damage becomes impossible to ignore. Imagine you have $20,000 in a traditional savings account, earning 0.01% annual interest. After 10 years, you'll have earned a grand total of about $20 in interest. $20. Meanwhile, with 3% annual inflation eating away at your purchasing power, that $20,000 will only be worth about $14,800 in today's dollars by the time those 10 years are up. You didn't lose money on paper, but you lost over $5,000 in real purchasing power, while your bank used your deposit to generate returns that never came back to you. Now zoom out even further. Over 20 years, that same $20,000 sitting in a 0.01% account grows to just $20,040 in nominal terms. But adjusted for 3% annual inflation, its real purchasing power has collapsed to around $11,000. You started with $20,000 and ended up with the equivalent of $11,000 in today's dollars. No market crash, no investment gone wrong, no economic catastrophe, just a savings account doing exactly what it was designed to do, which is hold your money just long enough for inflation to quietly destroy it. And this brings us to the part your bank definitely does not put in the welcome email. What exactly are they doing with your money while it sits in that account earning next to nothing?
Here's how banking actually works. When you deposit money into a savings account, the bank doesn't just hold it in a vault somewhere with your name on a little envelope. They take your deposit and lend it out to other customers at dramatically higher interest rates. Your $10,000 deposit might become part of a mortgage loan charging 7% interest, a personal loan charging 12% interest, or a credit card balance charging 22% interest. The bank is borrowing money from you at 0.01% and lending it out at rates that are sometimes 2,000 times higher. The spread between what they pay you and what they charge borrowers is called the net interest margin, and it is how banks generate billions of dollars in profit every single year. Wait, think about that for a second. You are the bank's lender. You are the one providing the capital that makes all of this possible. And in exchange for that service, they are giving you $1 per year on a $10,000 deposit while pocketing the difference. If you had a friend who borrowed $10,000 from you, invested it, made $700 in returns, and then handed you back $1 as your cut, you would never speak to that friend again. But because it's a bank, because the whole arrangement is dressed up in marble lobbies and FDIC insurance stickers, and the general feeling of institutional trustworthiness, most people just accept it as the way things work. Here's the historical context that makes this even infuriating. It wasn't always this bad. Back in the early 1980s, savings account interest rates were sitting above 10%. Yes, 10%. If you had $20,000 in a savings account in 1981, you were earning $2,000 a year in interest without lifting a finger. Rates gradually declined over the following decades as the Federal Reserve adjusted monetary policy, which is a longer conversation for another video. But here's the important part. As rates dropped, banks quietly kept most of the benefit for themselves. When the Fed raised rates dramatically between 2022 and 2023, the biggest banks passed almost none of that increase on to their savings account holders. They moved fast to raise rates on loans, credit cards, and mortgages, but the 0.01% savings account, that barely budged. Meanwhile, online banks and credit unions with far less overhead and far more competition for deposits raised their savings rates to 4%, 4.5%, even above 5% during that same period. The gap between what big banks were paying and what was actually available became impossible to justify. And yet most people still didn't move their money, because inertia is a more powerful force than logic when it comes to financial behavior. It doesn't have to work this way.
High-yield savings accounts have existed for years, but they exploded into the mainstream conversation relatively recently because the interest rate environment finally made the difference impossible to ignore. While traditional big bank savings accounts sit at 0.01% to 0.45%, high-yield savings accounts at online banks have been offering rates anywhere from 4% to 5.5% annually, depending on the current rate environment. Some of these accounts require zero minimum balance. Most of them are FDIC insured up to $250,000, which means your money is just as safe as it would be at your neighborhood bank branch. The only real difference is that these institutions, because they don't have the overhead of thousands of physical locations and armies of tellers, can afford to pass more of that interest income back to you. Let's run the same comparison with real numbers. That same $20,000 sitting in a high-yield savings account at 4.5% annual interest over 10 years grows to roughly $31,000. Compare that to the $20,020 you'd have in a traditional savings account over the same period. That's a difference of nearly $11,000 from the exact same $20,000 starting point, with zero additional contributions, just by choosing a different account to park your money in. You didn't take on more risk, you didn't learn a new investment strategy, you didn't give up any liquidity or access to your funds. You just stopped letting your bank treat your deposit like free money. Stretch that out to 20 years and the gap becomes genuinely staggering. That same $20,000 in a high-yield account at 4.5% grows to approximately $48,000 over 2 decades. The traditional savings account version, still barely above $20,000. The difference is almost $28,000 in additional wealth built from the exact same starting amount, with zero extra effort, zero additional risk, and zero complexity, just a different account. That's the cost of inertia, measured in dollars over time. Now, here's the question that always comes up when people hear this for the first time. If high-yield savings accounts are so obviously better, why isn't everyone using one? The answer is a mix of psychology, inertia, and something I'd call the familiarity premium. People pay an enormous price in opportunity cost just to keep using the financial products they've always used at the institutions they've always trusted, without ever questioning whether those institutions are actually serving them. There's also a trust factor that online banks have had to fight against for years. Because they don't have a physical branch you can walk into, some people feel like their money is less safe or less real somehow. Like, if there's not a building with their logo on it somewhere in their city, something sketchy must be going on. This is completely understandable as a feeling. It's also completely wrong. FDIC insurance doesn't care whether your bank has marble floors or just a well-designed app. Your money is protected either way up to the federal limit. And then there's the friction problem. Even people who know about high-yield savings accounts often put off switching because it feels complicated. You have to apply online, verify your identity, link your existing accounts, transfer money, and then wait a few business days for everything to settle. In reality, this process takes about 15 to 20 minutes and can be done entirely from your phone. But our brains are remarkably good at inflating the effort required for things we're not already doing, especially when not doing them is so much easier. Here's something that will put the cost of that inertia in perspective. Let's say switching to a high-yield savings account takes you 20 minutes, and let's say that switch earns you an extra $900 per year on a $20,000 balance, which is a pretty conservative estimate based on the rate difference between a typical big bank and a typical high-yield account. That means those 20 minutes of effort are worth $900 in annual return. That's $45 per minute for 20 minutes of work that requires zero skill or experience. But most people will spend those same 20 minutes scrolling social media instead, and then wonder why their savings account isn't growing. Now, I want to flag a few mistakes people make when they first learn about high-yield savings accounts, because the pendulum can swing too far in the wrong direction. Okay, the first mistake is treating a high-yield savings account like an investment account. It isn't. A 4.5% interest rate is genuinely excellent for cash you need to keep liquid and accessible, but it's not a substitute for investing. Your emergency fund belongs in a high-yield savings account. Your down payment savings for a house you want to buy in 2 years belongs in a high-yield savings account. Money you might need in the next 12 to 18 months belongs there. Money you won't need for 5 or 10 years belongs in the market, where it has the potential to grow at 7 to 10% annually over time. Using a high-yield savings account for long-term wealth building is like upgrading from a bicycle to a slightly faster bicycle when what you actually need is a car. The second mistake is chasing rates obsessively. Some people hear about high-yield accounts and immediately start hunting for the absolute highest rate available, opening accounts at 3 different banks and moving money around every few months, chasing an extra 0.1%. The difference between a 4.5% account and a 4.6% account on a $20,000 balance is $20 per year. That is not worth the complexity or the mental overhead. Find a reputable high-yield savings account with a competitive rate and a solid user experience, park your money there, and move on with your life. The third mistake is neglecting to actually use the account strategically. Just moving your emergency fund to a high-yield account is a great first step, but the real power comes from treating it as a dedicated holding zone for specific financial goals. One bucket for your emergency fund, a separate bucket for your next car purchase, another for a vacation you're actually saving for intentionally. Some high-yield savings platforms let you set up multiple savings buckets within a single account, which makes this kind of intentional allocation incredibly straightforward. When your money has a name and a purpose, it's dramatically less likely to disappear into random spending.
The fourth mistake is ignoring the tax implications. Interest earned in a high-yield savings account is taxed as ordinary income. That means if you're earning $900 in interest annually and you're in the 22% tax bracket, you're taking home closer to $700 after taxes. That's still dramatically better than the $1 you were earning before, but it's worth factoring into your thinking, especially as your balance grows. This is also why high-yield savings accounts are the right tool for short and medium-term cash, while tax-advantaged investment accounts handle your long-term wealth building. Each tool has its purpose, and understanding which one to use and when is what separates people who build wealth intentionally from people who just hope things work out. The fifth mistake, and honestly the most common one, is making the switch and then never looking at it again. High-yield savings rates are variable. They move with the broader interest rate environment. The account that's paying 4.5% today might be paying 3.2% in 2 years if rates shift. You don't need to obsessively monitor this every week, but checking in once or twice a year to make sure your rate is still competitive takes about 5 minutes and can make a meaningful difference over time. Treat it like a smoke detector. You don't watch it constantly, but you check the battery occasionally to make sure it's still doing its job. Here's the mindset shift that ties all of this together. Most people think of a savings account as a place where money waits, a financial waiting room between earning and spending. But every dollar in your savings account is either working for you or working against you. There is no neutral ground. Money sitting in a 0.01% account while inflation runs at 3% is not resting, it's eroded. Slowly, quietly, invisibly, and your bank is perfectly happy for you to keep believing that doing nothing is the same as being responsible.
The beautiful thing about fixing this particular problem is how little it actually costs you to solve it. Most financial improvements require sacrifice. They require you to spend less, earn more, take on more risk, or delay gratification in some meaningful way. This one doesn't. Moving your money to a high-yield savings account costs you nothing except 20 minutes on a Tuesday afternoon. You don't change your spending habits, you don't give up access to your funds, you don't take on any additional risk. You just stop subsidizing your bank's profit margin with money you worked hard to earn. The fix is not complicated. It is not risky. It does not require you to become a financial expert or spend hours researching investment strategies. It requires you to spend 20 minutes moving your money somewhere that actually respects the fact that you earned it. Your money should work at least as hard as you did to earn it. Right now, for most people, it isn't even close. And the only thing standing between where your savings are today and where they could be is the 20 minutes you keep deciding to spend doing something else instead. Your bank has been quietly charging you for years by paying you nothing. The least you can do is stop letting them. My name is Matt. Thanks for watching.